Welcome to Spectacle program on television Nigeria. My name is Daniel Atai, and today we'll be discussing some security threats to our country, Nigeria, both at home and in faraway South Africa, talking about the xenophobic attacks against Nigerians, as well as the Shiite Muslim threat in Nigeria. They've been, of course, you know that the Shiite Muslims have been protesting for the release of EL-ZAKZAKKY Ibrahim. And then we will also be looking at what prompts the Shiite Muslims for coming out at this particular time where our country is having various security challenges. And of course, we will not also dodge away from the fact that in faraway South Africa, where xenophobic attacks are targeted on Nigerians, and the two countries, the bilateral diplomatic ties between South Africa and Nigeria is shaking. Of course, you know that of recent, Nigeria just signed the largest, free trade act, where 53 countries in Africa signed the pact to have free movement, free jobs, education, and so on. What are the implications of this threat? That is what we'll be looking at. Shortly, I'll be introducing to you our columnist and a writer who will be, doing justice to this analysis. And it's no other person than Victor Temba, but stay tuned. I'll be with you. Before I come to Victor Tehemba, I would like us to have a brief look at the Shiite activities as introduced by their leader, their religious leader named EL-ZAKZAKKY Ibrahim, who is currently, some said is in detention, some said is in safe place where the government prepared for him, to relax until some, hula balloons coming out from his followers, doors down. Now, since 1984, the man EL-ZAKZAKKY Ibrahim has come to this country with a foreign religious belief. Not foreign per se, the Islamic belief are of two sects. One is of the Sunni and the other is of the Shia. Shia in Arabic language, where today the Hausa call it the Shiite. Now, the Shiite believe absolutely that the constitution of any country, whether in Europe, America, or Africa, should come from the Quranic explanation, Quranic and Hadith of Muhammad and his followers, while the Sunni believe that the constitution of a country that have its own sovereignty should be respected and be followed, while their religious activities will not be tied with national constitution. Now, the Shiite have gone ahead, protesting severally and also causing mayhems, destruction of governmental policies, disobedience to governmental policies, constitutions, and so on, protesting, destroying cars, destroying houses and government parastatals, that their constitutions, their Quranic constitutions, must be respected. In this case, what does the Shiite Muslim, there are just a minute population of about 5% in Nigeria, want Nigerians to do, to imbibe by their Quranic teachings or by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? That is what has been causing the problem, and why EL-ZAKZAKKY was allegedly sponsored by the Iranian government, because the Iranian government is a religious government that believes completely in the constitution of the Quranic teachings. What do we do in this country? Do we believe in EL-ZAKZAKKY or we believe in our constitution? Mr. Victor Tehemba, welcome to Spectacle program on TVN.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Victor, of course, you are a columnist, you are a writer, and a public affairs analyst. What do you think EL-ZAKZAKKY and his followers want?
EL-ZAKZAKKY and his followers, no, I don't think it's an issue of ZAKZAKKY and his followers what they want at the moment. Right now is what his followers want at the moment. And what the followers want at the moment is the release of their leader, which about 2 courts have in the past said he should be released, that his detention is unlawful, and even granted a 50 million naira damages to him. So I think that is what they want. But the Shi'ite movement as a whole, I think there is a misrepresentation when they say that they want to impose a particular constitution from the Quran and Hadith of Muhammad on the entire populace of where they are. That is not the case, because from the case, if you look at the case of the Shi'ite, what they have been able to do right from time, you know, this man has also been expelled from ABU Zaria for the same incident. That
from his background history.
Yes, it's like where he was in school, that particular area, the people he was able to woo to become his followers, they make that place ungovernable for the school authority. They want to abide. They say, okay, this is our portion and this is what we want for ourselves. These
not what the school authority wants.
Or what the country entirely wants. So when you look at the confrontations with the army, you see that it's also from that background, like this is our area. We want to abide by these laws here. We don't recognize a president. We don't know if there's a governor in this state, but this is our area, and EL-ZAKZAKKY is our president, is our leader, and we have our own.
And that is against the sovereignty, the constitution that binds the sovereignty of this country.
But then again, if you look at it, why we are criticizing and condemning the activities and actions of the Shiites, we should also remember that Nigeria has a secular constitution, because Nigeria is a secular state. But still in this country, Nigeria, we have states that implement Sharia laws. So that Sharia laws cut across even those who are not Muslim, but for the fact that you stay in that area, you live in that area,
abide by it.
You abide by it. You are also under the authority of this Sharia law. So I don't know if you understand.
Yeah, but if you are not a Muslim and you are living in a jurisdiction where Sharia law governs, why should you be obliged to obey Sharia law? I don't think it is so. I know the law is implemented, enacted in some states. In some states, like Zamfara State. Like Zamfara,
even Kano State. So the thing is,
It is only applicable to Muslims. It is not applicable to Christians.
Once you are staying in that area, because the thing is, if you are staying in this place and you say it's only applicable to Muslims, only applicable to Muslims and not applicable to Christians or other people of other religions. So it means these people are allowed to do what the Muslims are not allowed to do in their own domain, and for whatever reason they are asking Muslims not to do, maybe now it is being defeated because the non-Muslims are doing it. So the whole Shiite issues, and I think that it was allowed to grow out of proportion.
Now, okay, if it has been allowed to grow out of proportion due to the unrelease of ZAKZAKKY, do you think that ZAKZAKKY, with this teaching, broke the constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the aspect that made us sovereignty?
Yes, I agree with you. He did broke all of those laws. In fact, trying to prevent his followers, trying to prevent the GOC, the chief of staff, the army, from passing a particular area that belongs to Nigeria, it's also an offense. But so that we are under rule of law.
Yeah, of course, the National Assembly have not, ceded any part of Nigerian geography to them.
Take this part, this is where you can go on to your activities.
Yes.
So as far as we are under rule of law, as long as we are under the Constitution, once a court says, release this man, I think at that point in time, it should have been released. Instead of saying we are going to hold this man back for the interest of the nation, we know that he's a security risk, but the law says release this man.
All right, I learned he was released, and he himself said his life is under threat, that he would prefer to remain in detention.
At no point was he released. At no point was it. At the time, there were even rumors that he was dead. The DSS had to bring him out. The police had to. The authorities had to bring him out to have a press conference so that they confirmed that he is alive.
Okay, now assuming he's released, do you think it will stop this crisis that have claimed lives already? Imagine youth corps died as a result of this. A reporter at Channels Television died as a result of this.
And the one is still wounded at the moment is also a COP member. Then the DCP. Several lives have been lost.
Usman Omar, he died on the course of this, just pleading to the people, stop the protest, and then he was shot dead. So a violent sect of this nature, how do you think that even if their master is released, they will not plan another attack on innocent Nigerians, since they have already planned in their hearts to defy the Nigerian constitution?
There's no guarantee for that. But at the same time, okay, they are violent, and we could look at them, they are violent because testimonies from Kaduna, residents of Kaduna, majority of them don't even want the man to be released because of what they have gone through, what they have passed through in the hands of the man. But at the same time, when you look at it, it's not a situation that we would have allowed to have gotten to this stage.
Okay.
Yes. We've had several this procession protests of these Shiite Muslims that ended in peace, started in peace and ended in peace. The violence always comes when they are confronted by the security forces. Yes,
okay, so what do you advise now? What do you advise
right now?
To be done?
It has gone to the extent that a lot of things that we would advise now is it will be too late somehow, because right, if you say let there be a dialogue between the government and the Shiite people, it will not be like the government is bending to the will of violence. So it will send a message to other groups that government now listens to violence. Okay. Government cannot also release him now because there are clamoring. But I think that the government can take the case of dialogue, the option of dialogue, engage the leadership, talk to Shiite, and maybe talk to the leader that, look, this is what is going on. Can you talk to your people to calm down?
Okay.
Yeah, so I think dialogue will still solve the matter for now.
All right, let's look at the activities of the xenophobic activities and attack against Nigerians in faraway South Africa, and the implication it will be to the multilateral and diplomatical ties between Nigeria and South Africa. And of course, the recent signage of the African Continental Free Trade area that Nigeria suddenly became a member. And of course, for the fear of this kind of xenophobic attacks, we have been waiting, saying that we don't want to join countries where our citizens are threatened, our citizens are, addressed like slaves, or, treated like slaves, manhandled. South Africa, for God's sake, and a country that we have participated in the fight for their freedom in the apartheid regime from 1977, and even of recent 1990 to 1994, we aided in the installation of President Mandela, Nelson Mandela. We played vital roles in South Africa. Today, our Nigerian students and citizens who are living in South Africa are sleeping with one eye closed. What do you think about the xenophobic attack against Nigerians there?
Now, the thing is, when you look at this, we should ask what are the reasons why Nigerians are targets of xenophobic attacks. Now, you will hear excuses or reasons such as the fact that Nigerians are taking jobs away from their own natives. Nigerians are going there to constitute nuisance, getting involved in robbery, drug dealings, and all of those other cases. Now, when Nigerians talk about saying South Africa is being ungrateful, South Africa, because we helped South Africa over the years, the amount of aid, and both financially and
even economically,
but then that South Africa has been ungrateful. But I always say that for the fact that you provided me assistance does not give you entire liberty to come to my, for the fact that you help me build my house does not mean that you can come to my house at any time and do whatever you want at any time. So if we have Nigerians, of course,
are you saying that the Nigerians,
no, I'm not saying
they are not law-abiding people?
We have cases, even Nigerians who are in South Africa engage in legitimate business, sometimes they will tell you to be wary of other Nigerians. So a Hebrew is like a very popular area in South Africa that is populated with a lot of Nigerians. That is where, like, maybe almost every Nigerian, when you go to South Africa, the first place you get to go is Hebrew, because you get a close in Nigerian there that might accommodate you. So
are you aware, sorry, let me cut you. Are you aware that so far 118 Nigerians so far have been killed?
What are the causes of these attacks?
Apart from being killed just by xenophobic reactions,
Yes.
118, like I said, the 13 of these 118 were murdered by police officers, South African policemen.
So there is a what do you call it?
Is there any law justifying a policeman to kill?
There is no law that justifies that kind of activity. Now, the government needs to take it up. This is not something that has been happening of recent. It has been happening for a very long time now. The Nigerian government needs to seriously engage the African government. Our citizens are not going to be protected. But then when you look at all of these things, the underlying causes of all these things, the fact that we are not developing our own country. People are moving out to places where they feel they can find. And then when they are moving out, some people don't go out without any skill, without any talent. So they go there and then they get involved in crime. And then they use those few cases of Nigerians being involved in crime to blanket it as a cover for the other Nigerians. You talk about after AFCT agreements that it was already signed, how this is going to affect it. Yes, you made a very valid point there. Okay. At the same time, looking at Ghana is also now have a policy that foreign nationals are not going to be involved in retail businesses. And now we have also signed after, and that policy was actually directed to discriminate against Nigerians who were very, very much active in the business in Ghana, in the retail business in Ghana. So there was a video that Ghanaians were telling Nigerians, please, you have to go back to your country.
Imagine.
You have to go back to your country. So it's a question that we need to we really need to answer. Will the FCT guarantee freedom of Nigerians in other countries? Can Nigerians go to Tunisia?
To school? To also
do business? Can Nigerians be safe in South Africa?
Do job?
Can they be safe in Egypt? Can they be safe in Morocco? Can they go there and do business
in Nigeria?
Or even Ghana that is neighboring here?
Apart from South Africa, we have xenophobes in Tunisia, Algeria, the northern African countries that you are talking about. Yes. So anyway, now you have just hit up a point, and the point is that, of course, xenophobic attacks is like hating a particular sect of people, disliking them from the word xenophobic, the meaning, disliking them for sheer fear and complexity of what they may take out of your nation. If our country, Nigeria, with all the moribund industries and companies that we have in this country, can be revamped, if the government and the administration of President Muhammad Buhari listened and do the needful for our youth, not only our youth, our citizens, I don't think there will be need for us to go to places like South Africa, Ghana, where we are being killed, we are being illegally murdered in cold blood, not as if you've been arrested and you've been taken to the prison or sentenced to imprisonment. No, being killed. It is a statement that of recent the National Association of Nigerian Students have come out to say, look, we are warning Nigerians, although we are warning South Africa to retract these xenophobic actions and reactions, so that we don't retaliate here. We don't begin to give a reprisal attack here. I am not in support of reprisal attack. I call for dialogue between the two countries so that our African continent, there will be free movement, there will be job, there will be right to school, to educate, to do all things in African country. Mr. Victor, thank you for coming into today's spectacle.
Thank you.
And when I have cause to call you again, I believe I'll have the privilege.
Definitely you will.
That is where we stop today on Spectacle Program. I'm your host, Daniel Atai.